So that's TT done, and it's like this massive sense of, it's partly relief because the job's done, because obviously every session there's always that, okay, we're now here to be called upon if needed, and obviously you hope it never happens, but there's always another day, there's always another race, there's always a chance you're going to be. And so once it's done, it's kind of nice that it's all over. But that doesn't outweigh the fact that it's really depressing. While the TT's on, it's just like nothing else on earth exists. It's just, all that matters is what's happening on this island. All that matters is what's on today, what's on tomorrow, what's happened, and what's the weather doing. They're the only things that matter. You know, don't have to worry about work. I'm not thinking about anything else that's going on. Anything could be happening on planet Earth, and it just pales into insignificance compared to what's going on right here. Just for this 1 week, it's like nothing else exists. And when TT finishes, all of a sudden the real world creeps back into your thoughts, and it's horrible. It's horrible, and it happens every year. It's a bit like when you're a kid, and it's Christmas, and you get off school, and all it is parties and time off and food, and it's a great atmosphere. And then Christmas Day ends. All of a sudden, Christmas Day's done. And everyone's like, right, it's over now. Decorations down. Get your homework done. You're back to school next week. And that's exactly how it feels when TT's over. It's just the adult version. And it's been 2 days now since TT finished. So it was finished on Saturday for the senior on Saturday. Sunday off, and I didn't do anything. I sat and watched MotoGP and just had some quiet time. Because it just, all of a sudden it hits you, you're knackered, and it's got really hot as well, hasn't it? Like, I'm sat in the garage now, and the first video I made a couple of weeks ago, sat here with a hoodie and it's a little bit cold, and it's gone really warm. And to be honest, I'm really glad this warm weather wasn't here for the racing, because that warm air came in on Saturday, and it was really hot. It was really hot in your leathers and everything. It was really, really warm. And I think that's part of the reason why we didn't see that 137. I think Michael talked about it. He went out and set the bike up to be capable of doing a 137 if he had to, and when he went out, the grip wasn't there to do it, and so the bike wasn't behaving how he wanted it to, and that's why he struggled. Everything was just a bit warmer, and you know what it's like when the track temperature gets up to a certain point, the grip level goes off a cliff, and I think it didn't go off a cliff, but it definitely diminished, and I think that's why we didn't see those really quick times. Maybe they could have gone a bit quicker if Michael had a better setup, and they could have pushed each other into 137s. But either way, we got 136s, we got 130 600s, we got 120 sidecars, and we got multiple people doing them as well. Not just the Birchalls and not just Michael, but Hickey did a 130 on the 600, and Founds did a 120 on the sidecars, and just, yeah, everything basically most people I think thought was going to happen. You know, records broken everywhere, and it's all down to that weather. It's all down to loads and loads of laps, and loads of grip, and it just adds up to what it was, and it also adds up to not many incidents. But I suppose we do need to talk about the fact that we did have one major incident that sort of came out of nowhere, really. Raul was an experienced competitor. The Superstock race just before it, he'd done his quickest ever lap, and you'd think jumping on the twin after that would be easy. And obviously what happened there we can't talk about because of the obvious. But it's another sad loss, and every time you lose somebody, it is really sad. There's no way of making it like okay. And I always remember a quote that Paul Dobbs' wife said, and she said, you can't love the loss and you can't love the death, but you can't love the thrill and the excitement of it all without knowing that's part of it. And that sums up perfectly. It's because it's dangerous, it's exciting. And not everyone gets that. Everyone who raced around here gets it, and people who've raced family and close friends, I think they get it too. But there's always going to be a certain amount of people who just don't understand that. They're never ever going to get it, and they're always going to be against it. And last year was difficult because we had lost so many, and if you go through that experience of either losing somebody who's in your team, or as a family member of yours, or a close friend, or you've been part of the people who dealt with it, there's always a time immediately after it where you think, is it worth it? Because You know, the ultimate sacrifice has been paid. Just for fun, if you like. And sometimes you think, is it worth it? And last year, I think that went through quite a few people's minds. And then the press jump on it. Press only like bad news stories, don't they? So I bet they don't write anything about this year, about it being one of the safest TTs. I bet they don't mention the fact that there was hardly any serious accidents on the open road either. Obviously there's a few serious ones, but I don't think we had any fatalities on the open road, when we didn't last year either. And then we had a Grand Prix with no fatal incidents, and now we've had a TT with just one. But bad news isn't the news that sells papers, is it? So I'm sure they won't be reporting on the fact that it was a quite a incident-free TT. But that's the world we live in. But yeah, incident-wise, it was quiet for us. I'm not allowed to say that Q word while TT's on, but now it's done. Yeah, it was quiet for us, and sometimes it feels like the quiet before the storm, and especially leading up to that senior race, because on the last couple of laps of that race, people are pushing, and they're pushing physically, but they're pushing mentally, knowing that it's the last couple of laps they're getting this year. And they want to get that PB, and they want to get that extra place and just get that bit further up. And so they sometimes go to places that they haven't been for the earlier part of the week. And then fatigue as well. You know, they've done a lot of laps, and then it comes down to the last 2 laps on your superbike of a 6-lap race, and statistically it's where we see the most accidents, 5th and 6th lap of the senior TT. But there wasn't any. And lap records are getting broken everywhere, and it's been one of the 6 ones. Just the standard of riding from everyone out there this year was incredible. Conditions played a part, of course they did, but you've got to give the riders the credit they deserve. It takes an amazing amount of skill to do what they do, and to not mess it up, you know. And yeah, they deserve a lot of credit for that, a lot of credit. See, I don't want to harp on too much about the results, because I don't think it's why you come here to listen to this. You come here to listen to what we've been up to. But the thing is, we haven't had that much to do, so I haven't got that much to tell you about, really. One of the nice things I got to do is I got to sweep the TT parade lap, which was really nice, because it was a nice steady lap round. We didn't really go over 120 miles an hour. Cruise round, everyone was waving, everyone was cheering, and that was really, really nice. A few people have said, and I agree, it would have been nicer to have more in. So like when I think of sidecar racing back to the early days of me watching it, I think of Mick Bodice on that Castrol Honda. How nice would that have been? And then I could pick about 5 or 6 of Molly's outfits that I remember back. Because all I remember really is Mick Bodice, and then Molly having battles with like Rob Fisher, and it was great to see Rob Fisher there with his Yamaha. That was great. And then Nikki and Molly having battles, and then Nikki's got some iconic ones as well. And I thought maybe they would have dug one of them out for Ryan and Callum to ride. That would have been nice. And there's a few, and then going back even further, there's more. Yeah, it would have been nicer to see a few more, but for whatever reason, there was just the 3 of them. But it was still nice to follow that round and just soak that up. That was really, really cool. So that was good. And then at the end of the senior, what we tried to do as a group is when we set off the red bib, like the last travel marshal, what normally happens is they'll radio through to Ballacrane, the traveller marshal at Ballacrane, and say the last competitor is number 54. Once he passes your location, you're free to follow him back into the grandstand. And then they'll tell Kurt Michael. So basically, you end up a bit spread out, and you all come back in. And that happens every night and then every day. Well, on the last day, what we try and do is the red bib sets off, and as I approach Ballacrane, it was Jim, Mike 2, who was at Ballacrane. As soon as he sees me coming, he'll set off, and we'll just ride around at like 50% speed. And then I get right behind him, and we go through, and once we get to Kurt Michael, I'll back off. Jim will go through, and then the next TM will get in behind Jim, and then I'll catch it back up again, and we do that at all the points. So we're just going round as a snake for the whole lap. And it's nice, and everyone is out there waving, cheering, and clapping again. People always surprised me how many people standing out there for that, and yeah, it's really, really nice. Everyone seems to appreciate what we've done, and I like the fact that we haven't done much this week, but you also, you don't feel guilty, but it's like we didn't do that much really, we were just there. And then after we got back in, we nipped down to the trackside bar for a shandy, and it's always nice. We got to meet a few people, and we signed a few things, and got a load of pictures, and people, when we get together, it's like, people just want to come and talk to you, which is ace, it's ace. But yeah, when you get all of us together, all in bright jackets, yeah, it's nice, because we don't often get to do it, because the boys who live up north, at the end of a session, if they're up north, they don't want to come way back to the grandstand and then wait for roads open and then go all the way back up north. So they'll just stay up north. So it's not very often we all get together. We all make a point of doing it after the senior. So it's always nice to do that. And you get some nice pictures with us, but then also the guys who are up in the tower, who we've worked with all week, who've been talking to us on the radios, they'll come down and we'll get a picture too. It's nice. So we did a little bit of that. So yeah, basically what happens with the bikes now is this sits in my garage till the next Grand Prix. Because of all the electronics we've got on them, they really suck the battery. So if we leave them for more than maybe 2 or 3 days, if you just sat like this, then the battery will go below a level where sometimes it won't start. Obviously we've been on them loads, so it hasn't been a problem, but you can't leave them for like a week and expect it to go. So batteries come off, so the trackers and everything aren't pinging anymore. And this won't go out again now till August. So we've got the Southern 100 between now and the Grand Prix, but we only use 3 travel marshals for that, and that's numbers 1, 2 and 3. So Tony, Jim and Paul. Those guys do it every year. They're really experienced around there. They've all raced around there, which is important because I never raced around there. Like 4 didn't, and 7 didn't. 6 did. So Darren did race around there up until last year, I think. He's still classic racing around there. He knows his way around there really well. So Jim couldn't make one of the pre-TT Classic meetings, so Darren filled in. So he's the next guy to do the Southern. He knows the track, and he's now got a bit of experience TMing down there as well, so that's really handy to have a 4th person now to cover that. But I won't be back out on the bike now till August, and to be honest, it's not that I've had enough. If there was closing the roads again tomorrow, I'd go out for a lap, definitely. But if someone says to me, do you want to go out next week on the R6 for a lap on open roads, I'm like, no, I really don't want to. You're absolutely spoiled getting to ride around here on closed roads and going around on open roads with all the traffic and the traffic lights and the speed limits. And it's so underwhelming once you've done a closed road lap, and a closed road lap a couple of days ago. Just no thanks, we're all right. People are giving us some really good ideas on some future videos we could make, and we're lining up a comparison video between an RC45 and the current Fireblade. And the main reason being is that when Jim started in '94, they used VFI 800s. But if anyone remembers back then, Hizzy won on the Castrol Honda that year, and the following year Honda brought out a Castrol liveried RC45, and they provided them for the Traveller Marshals in '95. So Jim's second year, he was on the RC45, iconic machine, piece of motorcycle history, and we want to get them side by side. And let Jim talk to you about the differences, because they must be night and day now, those 2 bikes, absolute night and day. But I'm sure he's going to have a lot of good things to say about the old one in comparison to the new one, and vice versa. So that'll be an interesting one. And we're going to do a bit more stuff to do with actual things that we carry, the way we operate with radios and things. So a more like sort of tech based, sort of like how everything sort of kind of works. So that's one in the pipeline. So really we just wanted to say a big thanks to everybody who's watched the videos over the last couple of weeks, everyone who's subscribed to the channel and left us comments. Try and like go through the comments and reply to any questions. One of the other videos that we're going to make is a Q&A. So there's been quite a few things that have been asked, which are actually really interesting things that I didn't think about. So we're just going to fire them off really quickly in a quick Q&A. They always seem to be really popular videos, so we're going to do one of those. But yeah, just a thanks to everyone who's been involved with anything to do with the channel over the last couple of weeks. Anybody who's come up to us in the paddock and said, oh, I really enjoyed the videos, and I found this really interesting on that. It gives us good ideas for the future. So sometimes I sit here and I think nobody can be interested in this, but since the first one, most people seem to be. So again, we will keep making them if you want to see them. Like I say, we've got a few things lined up for the future, and if anyone's got any more suggestions about what you'd like to know about, just leave them down in the comments. And also anyone who wants to ask a question for the Q&A video coming up, just fire the questions off down there, and we'll write them down and we'll get them answered. Hopefully we'll get the video with Jim done on the RC45 in not too distant future, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that one too. And then there's another bike coming up which is so special, and I really want to show you it, and I'll tell you about it, but I've been told that I'm not going to be able to ride it, but go and see this thing, and I'm talking like 6-figure special. So it's going to be a really, really nice one. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, thanks again to everybody, and hopefully not too long before we do the next one. And roll on Grand Prix, 10 weeks to go. Cheers.